Okay, so for today's video, I'm super excited to finally make this video. This is a video I've kind of hyped up on this channel for a while, and this is finally the Spinosaurus video that I've mentioned before. So this is kind of my 20 subscriber special video, I guess, because so we hit 20 subs, and I was like, I want to do some cool video idea for 20 subs, and then I started looking through my list of future videos to try to decide which one would be the best for 20 subs, and I was like, oh, this makes the perfect time to finally make this the first episode of Controversial Cases. And Controversial Cases is going to be this new series I do on the channel where I'm going to do a lot of research on a controversial subject, and then I'm going to either bring what I believe, or sometimes I'm going to do just the more controversial side just because, and then bring up some of the evidence. But on some that I'm like 100% one way I think is right, I'm going to usually lean that way. And in this one, I feel pretty confident on this belief, so I'm going to go with this one. But usually I will go with the well, not usually, but a lot of the times I am going to go the more controversial one. I might go the more controversial one in like the Nanotyrannus video, just because since most people are usually the pro no Nanotyrannus, so I might just go pro Nanotyrannus just because of that. But then I'll probably explain in that video too which one I think is more accurate too. But like I said, thank you all so much for getting me to 20 subscribers. This channel has been so fun, and it's been so educational for even myself. Researching for these videos and for future videos has even taught myself, and I feel like this channel has so much more potential. I have another channel that I put so much I felt like into, and I got barely any results on it. Yet this channel I feel like I've barely put anything into yet, and I've already made great strides, including 2 videos with over 1,000 views, which is a huge accomplishment. No video on that other channel had reached 1,000 views, and that channel has way more videos than this channel. And this channel already has more subscribers, so I think this has officially become my main channel. It was already kind of leaning that way, but I think it now officially is. And like I said, since this was the 20 sub milestone, I figured that this was the perfect time to finally do controversial cases. This video idea I made a long time ago. I actually think I might have actually made this before I even planned on making the YouTube channel. Like, my idea for this was I was just like doing just some fun research about Spinosaurus, just because I really like Spinosaurus. And this video, like I said, I planned a while ago, maybe before this channel even came up, but I've been working on it and changing it a little ever since then. And at the time I made it, I'm not even sure I had my YouTube channel, but at the time I didn't plan on making this a whole series, but I think this will become a series depending on how good this video does. And I have a lot of future episode ideas. And if you want to see any specific controversial cases you think, like the Torosaurus Triceratops, some people think that they're growth stage, something like that, then just comment it below and I'll be happy to add it to the list, and I'll probably do it more soon if it's one I already had on my list for sure. I actually just got the idea while thinking about that. I might do the Pachycephalosaurus Dracorex one and Semiaquatic. That's pretty much a set in stone one, but just go over it more than actually argue it. But something like that would be fun. Like I said though, I have a ton of future ideas already for that series, and if you would comment them and give me more ideas, then that would help a ton. And also, I wanted to mention one thing about another video, that Apex Theropod deck building game video. This is probably going to be the last video that comes before I actually do my first gameplay video of that. So if you haven't voted for which species you want to see me play yet, do that. And the 3 species that they're in the comments, and it says which species do you want me to play as or whatever, something like that. And then it's got Acro, Carno, and Giga. Just like whichever comment of the species you want to see me play. I think Acro and Giga are in the lead right now. I'll probably lean Acro if it's still a tie, just because I've done a lot of stuff with Acro on the channel already, the Terrabibitat figure and the Carnegie Collection figure. But if the Carno or the Giga gets more, then I'll do that one. Just depends on what you all want to see. But right now it's probably going to be Acro if it stays a tie. And now we're going to I'm going to go over more of this video specifically. Like I said, the controversial cases. This one is on whether or not Spinosaurus was aquatic or terrestrial. And I'll explain my thoughts on it. And obviously this is not very controversial to debate, but there are some more controversial ones. and I've got a little list, but I'm gonna just kind of save those. But if this channel ever gets like 500 plus subs, where you can like do community polls, I'll do like a poll before the series, like asking which one you all want me to do, and then I'll do like, what's your opinion on it? Like in this one, it would have been like, is Spinosaurus aquatic? Is Spinosaurus semi-aquatic? Is Spinosaurus not aquatic? And or the fourth one would have been like, no idea, something like that. And then like a week after the video came up, I would redo it and say, what do you think after watching the video? Something like that. I think that would be fun. But I can only do that if this channel gets up in subs. But I'm content with where we are right now. Well, not content. I want this channel to get really big, but I like where we are right now. But I definitely think this channel has room to grow, a lot of room. And for the actual Spino video, so I'm super glad, like I said, to actually make this video. I made like a presentation in Google Slides. It's kind of like the on-demand format, and I made it like a few months ago, actually. I think school was still going on, and my school starts back in like 2 weeks, which is not great, but I don't really hate school, so it's fine with me. But that's how long ago I've actually been working on this video. Not really working. I've had this video. I could have made this video like a month ago, and it would have been fine, but that's when I started it, I'll say. And the actual Spino video, so like I said, I'm glad to finally make it, and here we are. So I have like a Google Slides thing typed out, but I think it would be better just to show off these figures while I talk about it. So like I said, it's kind of like on-demand style. I've got like my introduction, then I've got like 3 big points and going over those points, and then I've got a like conclusion type thing. So, and let's just get right into it. So the title is Was Spinosaurus Terrestrial or Aquatic by Jack Nicholson. Oh, that's my name, by the way. If I've never said that, but that's why it's Jurassic Theropods now. My initials are JTN, Jack Nicholson. And yes, I have been asked a lot of times if my name is from the actor, and it's not. So the introduction. The question of whether or not Spinosaurus was terrestrial or aquatic has an answer. It seems like every few years we have a different image of Spinosaurus due to new discoveries. Spinosaurus became a very popular dinosaur due to particular movie franchise being Jurassic Park. And here's a Jurassic Park Spinosaurus figure. And that's pretty accurate to what the movie one looks like, other than the colors. But another more accurate depiction of Spinosaurus was in Planet Dinosaur. And sure, that dinosaur, it's kind of went through a few changes since then, but at least the lifestyle is what I mean by more accurate. And another factor that increased Spinosaurus' popularity is just its size, due to the fact that it's one of the largest theropods, one of the longest, that's for sure. And the theropods, if you aren't aware, are the group of primarily carnivorous dinosaurs like T-Rex, Velociraptor, and Allosaurus. Spinosaurus was most likely semi-aquatic for multiple reasons, including its skeleton, niche partitioning, and bone density. And if you aren't aware what semi-aquatic means, semi-aquatic is an animal that can like do well on land and in the water, but usually the semi-aquatic ones, well, not usually. Some species stay more in the water and some stay more on the land, like crocodiles stay more in the water, but also get on land. That's a very good example of a semi-aquatic species. Seals are another good example. Any animal that can be on land or water for a good amount of time is what I would consider semi-aquatic. So for the first one, it's Spinosaurus' skeleton. The first reason Spinosaurus was most likely semi-aquatic was its skull, which happens to be very long. Long skulls are present in animals today that catch fish like herons and crocodilians. This alone obviously would not be enough of a reason to back up Spinosaurus being aquatic, though. And like you can see, the Spinosaurus figure, the skull might be longer on this one, but in this Baryonyx figure, you can see the longer skull, which is obviously very good for catching fish. You know, and with the teeth it has, its skull is very well designed for an animal that would catch fish, especially for an animal as large as it was. And then also with the skeleton, other than just the skull shape, there is more evidence Spinosaurus was a fish-eating dinosaur. A skull of Spinosaurus was found with an Onchopristis vertebrae embedded in its jaw. Onchopristis is just a really large species of sawfish. Sawfish are just a large fish that kind of resemble a shark but have that big long rostrum, or like the long nose that has the spikes in it. Another piece of evidence was an Onchopristis barb embedded in a Spinosaurus jaw. So that's 2 situations of Spinosaurus Onchopristis. And due to this evidence, there is clear proof that Spinosaurus ate fish, but this does not mean it hunted or lived in the water, though, since it could have already been dead, Onchopristis, like just washed up on the beach or something. But I think that leans more to it actually hunting it, but I could definitely see somebody arguing that it's not that. And then Spinosaurus skeleton. the last point for Spinosaurus' skeleton. One other factor about Spinosaurus' skeleton that promotes the idea of Spinosaurus being semi-aquatic is its tail. Spinosaurus has a large tail that includes chevron bones. Chevron bones are bones on the bottom side of the tail that make the tail longer, or not longer, but larger, and usually better for swimming. Some current animals today with chevron bones are crocodiles, which are a semi-aquatic species. Due to this evidence, Spinosaurus could have been semi-aquatic. So just off the skeleton alone, Spinosaurus has a lot of factors that would benefit the idea of it being semi-aquatic. And then niche partitioning. One of the main reasons Spinosaurus would have to be semi-aquatic is niche partitioning. Where and when Spinosaurus lived, there was another apex predator, in this case Carcharodontosaurus. This is the Carcharodontosaurus figure for this video. And an environment can only hold more than one apex predator if they have different niches. These two species would have directly competed with each other if they were not for them filling different niches. There are two large predators, two of the largest carnivorous dinosaurs that we've found so far. They're both in that top 5 big group with Giga, T-Rex, Mapu. They're usually in that top 5 pretty easily. And these two lived in the same area at the same time, so they would have directly competed with each other if it was not for niche partitioning. And Spinosaurus and Carcharodontosaurus are both large apex predators that lived in the early Cretaceous Africa. They both have relatives that more directly competed with each other in the Jurassic period, though. For Spinosaurus, a Megalosauridae member, it had relatives like Torvosaurus, while for Carcharodontosaurus, an Allosaurus, it had relatives like Allosaurus. Carcharodontosaurus is pretty much just a bigger Allosaurus with a proportionally larger skull, while Spinosaurus is quite a bit different than Torvosaurus anatomically. A thinner skull for sure, and obviously the big sail and the tail being larger. It's a very different looking dinosaur than Torvosaurus, while Carcharodontosaurus looks like an Allosaurus with just a bigger head and smaller arms pretty much. And the most clear reason this would happen is to decrease their direct competition. While both can remain apex predators, due to Carcharodontosaurus being very similar to Allosaurus anatomically, it filled a similar niche of hunting large land herbivores like sauropods. And Carcharodontosaurus would probably, like I said, hunted large sauropods like Allosaurus, and species like Torvosaurus and Megalosaurus probably were more like ambushing smaller prey. Obviously, they probably did hunt some of the larger prey, but they probably were more like ambushing smaller prey on game trails and stuff. And Spinosaurus obviously took that to a whole nother level of ambushing prey in the water. And going along with the niche partitioning, since Carcharodontosaurus was taking a role of apex predator on land, the role of apex predator was open in the water for Spinosaurus. During this time, there were lots of large species of fish like coelacanths and the already mentioned Onchopristis available for Spinosaurus to eat. Something similar to this today is gharials and mugger crocodiles, which have overlapping habitat. The gharials hunt almost exclusively fish, while mugger crocodiles are less specially adapted and eat almost every animal available to them, including mammals, birds, other reptiles, and fish. So logically, it makes more sense for Spinosaurus to have been an aquatic predator rather than a land predator to decrease direct competition with Carcharodontosaurus. And mugger crocodiles are just like any other crocodile that just happen to live in India, and gharials are a crocodile with a very long, slender skull, which are really well suited for fish, kind of like Spinosaurus' skull. There was something I was going to say. And Spinosaurus and Carcharodontosaurus would obviously not be the most picky animals. If a dead fish washed up on the shore, Carcharodontosaurus would definitely eat it. It's not just going to leave it just because it's a fish. And Spinosaurus, if there was a situation like in Planet Dinosaur, where there's no fish available for Spinosaurus and it could only get on land and hunt, it probably would have to fight Carcharodontosaurus to get food. But that would be the only time these species would ever really fight. They would try to avoid each other as much as they can, like current predators. But obviously, if they were in a situation where food was not available, then they would compete with each other more directly. And now we get to my last point, bone density. Due to the evidence regarding niche partitioning in Spinosaurus' skull, it's pretty safe to assume Spinosaurus was semi-aquatic. But this creates a whole new question. How semi-aquatic was Spinosaurus? This question originally was hard to answer. Some argued Spinosaurus lived like a heron and waded in the water to catch its prey. However, some argued Spinosaurus lived like a crocodile, swam underwater to hunt its prey. Due to a new study over bone density comparing dinosaurs and other animals, Spinosaurus was more likely a highly semi-aquatic creature and could hunt underwater like a crocodile due to its high bone density. Higher bone density is common in semi-aquatic animals because it helps controlling buoyancy in the water. So this means it would have the lifestyle more similar to a crocodile hunting actually in the water than a heron which hunts in the water but like stands in the water, while a crocodile actually swims in the water. So it would have a lifestyle more similar to that. Surprisingly, this study also revealed Baryonyx had very dense bones, which means it probably hunted underwater as well. This is surprising because Baryonyx historically was considered to be the more generalist of the Spinosaurus relatives, including Suchomimus Spinosaurus in itself, were historically considered to be the more which Spinosaurus and Suchomimus were historically considered to be the more specialized species for fish. One factor for believing Baryonyx was more of a generalist was a fossil where a fossil was found containing iguanodon bones and fish scales in its stomach. But this is going back to my point earlier saying that they would eat whatever was available. Baryonyx probably was the most generalist of the species, even though it could hunt underwater very well, though. So it probably did hunt land species like iguanodon, but it also did hunt underwater due to the bone density. But going back to Suchomimus, though, adding to the surprise of the paper was adding to the surprise of Baryonyx bone density was Suchomimus' bone density, which was substantially less dense than Spinosaurus and Baryonyx, being more similar to terrestrial theropods. But this means Suchomimus probably had that more heron-like lifestyle of wading to catch fish rather than swimming underwater like Spinosaurus or crocodiles. So the interesting thing about this is Baryonyx also became a very semi-aquatic species due to this, meaning it also had that crocodile-like lifestyle, meaning Baryonyx probably did fine on land and in the water, but probably did better in the water than a bunch of people thought. And this means Suchomimus was way more of a wader than an actual swimmer under the water. But for a while, people I think have assumed Suchomimus was a wader, but the bone density increases that factor. But this pretty much shows us what the lifestyles of these three predators would have been most similar to. And in conclusion, due to the Spinosaurus skeleton, bone density, and niche partitioning, we can almost say for certain Spinosaurus was a semi-aquatic predator. Unfortunately for Spinosaurus, though, the factors that made it an apex predator pushed it to such a limit of specialization for hunting fish that it might have also been the direct reason it went extinct. Prior to the mass extinction at the end of the Cretaceous, since it was so specialized, it was unable to adapt to the changes in its environment. As the years go on, new evidence could change the current understanding of this amazing apex predator. So that's it for this video. I am going to do this little thing that I do at the end of most of my videos. So if you haven't seen my videos before, I do this thing going over the figures in the video and going over their manufacturer. So this is the GeoWorld Jurassic Hunter's Carcharodontosaurus. I actually really like this figure. And then we've got the Jurassic Park Spinosaurus figure. This is from not a particular movie or anything. This was like one of the last Jurassic Park figures made prior to Jurassic World, though. This is the Safari Limited Spinosaurus. This is actually a pretty good Spinosaurus for how old it is. This figure was a 2001. This is actually a really good Spinosaurus for 2001, I will say. And then this is a recent pickup for me. This is the Schleich Baryonyx. So, I will show off kind of how I worked on this, though. This is the Google slide that I did this on. And I'll kind of just go over this part too. So that's the Jurassic Park Spinosaurus for when I was explaining one of the reasons it was so popular. And this is the examples of the skulls. That's the heron skull, that's the Spinosaurus skull, that's the gharial skull, and that's the crocodile skull. Or actually, that might be I think that's the gharial skull. That might not be the gharial skull. And then that's the Onchopristis barb, and that's Spinosaurus with some of the fish species. That's the coelacanth, and that's the Onchopristis. And there was even some small pliosaurs. And some sharks. There was a good selection of fish for Spinosaurus to eat. And that's one of the tail chevron species, the crocodile. And that's a very recent rendition of Spinosaurus that is believed to be pretty accurate as of right now. And one other thing about Spinosaurus that is cool is the spine controversy. There's some that believe it had a big dip in the middle. There's some that believe it had the Jurassic Park, just straight circle. And there's some that believe it had the just big square wedge type thing. Then here is like showing off some niche partitioning. There's some sauropods in the background being hunted by a Carcharodontosaurus right there. And then there's Spinosaurus obviously hunting some fish. And then here Spinosaurus catching an Onchopristis while Carcharodontosaurus are eating an Ouranosaurus. I assume it's Ouranosaurus. Ouranosaurus was the big herbivore on land like the Hadrosaur. And then here's Torvosaurus. I always get Torvosaurus and Torosaurus mixed up, even though they're very different animals, just because that V. But there's Torvosaurus and Spinosaurus showing they both had longer jaws and long arms, so they probably were both more ambush predators. And then there's Allosaurus and Carcharodontosaurus. Carcharodontosaurus, like I said, bigger skull, shorter arms, while Allosaurus, longer arms, smaller skull, but both probably filled pretty similar niches. That's the gharial, and that's the crocodile, the mugger crocodile. And then there's Suchomimus with the spine and Baryonyx without the spine. So that's it. So thank you all so much for watching. I'm so glad to finally have this video up on the channel. And this is going to be, hopefully, a more series of this on the channel. And they should not take as long as this one took to finally have on this channel. But thank you all so much for watching. And like I said, if you want to see any of these style videos in the future, comment them below which one specifically you want to see. And I might put in the comments for this one, like my top 4 ones I want to do next. And whichever one of those gets the most likes, we'll probably do next. So thank you all so much for watching. And one other thing, like I said, watch that Apex video if you haven't, and comment which of the species you want to see me play as. So thank you all so much for watching once again, and I am out.